Most people believe high blood pressure comes with warnings: a pounding headache, dizziness, some sign that something is wrong. So if you feel perfectly fine, you must be perfectly fine. Right. I have opened the chests of patients who felt completely healthy the week before their stroke. People walking their dogs, cooking dinner, laughing with their grandchildren just days before everything changed. No symptoms. No warnings. Nothing. And that is exactly what we need to talk about today. Here is the core problem nobody is addressing. When your doctor checks your blood pressure, it takes roughly 30 seconds. 30 seconds out of 86,400 seconds in a day. Your entire treatment plan is built around that single snapshot. But for the majority of those seconds, you are asleep. And that is precisely where the real danger hides. Under normal conditions, your blood pressure drops by 10 to 20% during sleep. Every single night. We call this the dipping pattern, and it is not optional. It is your cardiovascular system performing critical overnight repair work. Your heart heals. Your blood vessels recover. Your kidneys process waste. Every one of these processes depends on that nighttime pressure drop happening reliably. But after the age of 60, something shifts. Your arteries gradually stiffen. Your blood vessels lose their elasticity, and your autonomic nervous system, responsible for triggering that nighttime drop, starts losing its rhythm. For millions of people over 65, that nighttime dip simply stops happening. Pressure stays elevated or rises even higher during sleep. You wake up exhausted and foggy. You assume you just didn't sleep well. But the real explanation is something far more serious. Most doctors never catch it because they're only looking at that 30-second snapshot. Let me give you a real patient example. He comes into my office. Blood pressure 120/78, textbook perfect. I send him home with a 24-hour monitor. He goes about his normal day, falls asleep around 11 at night. By 2 in the morning, his pressure is 164/102 while he sleeps completely unaware. That is not a mild elevation. That is a hypertensive crisis unfolding in silence. Why does this happen? 3 reasons, and each one is far more common after 60 than most people realize. His medication was taken in the morning, and by midnight, its protective effect had almost completely worn off. His stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, were not following their normal nighttime rhythm. They were spiking instead of dropping. And his sleep was fragmented. Every brief awakening, even ones he didn't remember, triggered a pressure surge, night after night. The same silent damage accumulating in his arteries, his kidneys, the vessels behind his eyes, month after month, without a single symptom. We have a clinical name for people whose nighttime pressure never drops. We call them non-dip. And here is what the numbers actually show. More than 50% of adults over 65 are non-dippers. That is not a rare edge case. That is the majority. And non-dippers carry a cardiovascular mortality risk 3 times higher. 3 times higher than dippers with identical daytime readings. Same medication, same diet, same office numbers. 3 times the risk from what happens during 8 hours of sleep. Then there are reverse dippers. People whose pressure actually rises during sleep. For them, stroke risk increases by a factor of 4 or 5, and they feel completely fine during a standard office visit. Standard office visits catch none of this. 0. That is the diagnostic gap we need to close. Now let me tell you about things already in your home that may be silently making your nighttime pressure worse. The first is licorice root. I know it sounds harmless. It is herbal, natural, calming before bed. But licorice root contains a compound that blocks a specific enzyme in your kidneys, causing cortisol to build up. Your pressure surges while you sleep, and you feel nothing except exhausted in the morning. Check your evening tea labels tonight. Licorice root hides under names like sweet root, glycyrrhiza, or simply natural flavoring. The second is evening alcohol. The initial effect does temporarily lower blood pressure. That part is real. But 3 to 4 hours later, right in your deepest stage of sleep, your sympathetic nervous system overcorrects with a sharp rebound spike. Your blood pressure can reach its highest point of the entire day at 3 in the morning. The third is grapefruit juice taken alongside calcium channel blockers like amyloid. Grapefruit blocks the liver enzyme that breaks down these medications, causing dangerous accumulation, especially at night, when there is no monitoring and no way to respond. So how do you actually find out what your pressure is doing overnight? There is a test designed precisely for this. It is called the ABPM, ambulatory blood pressure monitoring. You wear a small cuff for 24 hours while living completely normally. It takes readings every 30 minutes, day and night. This is the gold standard for identifying non-dipping patterns. And yet most people over 65 have never worn one. Ask for it by name at your next appointment. If you do not specifically request it, it will almost certainly never be ordered. Also ask for urine microalbumin, one of the earliest detectable signs of kidney damage from sustained high pressure, appearing years before anything shows up on standard tests. And ask for oxidized LDL, which is damaged cholesterol that directly destroys arterial walls. Standard panels never measure it. Write these three down right now. ABPM, microalbumin, oxidized LDL. Put that paper next to your insurance card. Now, one of the most powerful and overlooked solutions is not a new medication. It is the timing of the one you are already taking. Most blood pressure medications are taken in the morning. By midnight, their protective window has significantly narrowed. The landmark Hygia chronotherapy trial followed 20,000 patients over 6 years and found that those who took their medication at bedtime had nearly 50% lower rates of heart attack, stroke, and cardiovascular death. Same drugs, same doses, just different timing. Do not change your schedule without speaking to your doctor first, but that conversation is absolutely worth having at your very next appointment. And finally, hibiscus tea. 10 grams of dried hibiscus flowers, not tea bags, steeped in 90-degree water for 10 to 15 minutes. Until the color is deep burgundy. Multiple clinical trials have shown blood pressure reductions of 8 to 14 millimeters of mercury in patients with mild to moderate hypertension. Drink your most important cup 1 to 2 hours before bed. If you are already on medication, tell your doctor before adding it. 3 things tonight. Check your tea cabinet for licorice root. Be honest about evening alcohol and consider moving it earlier. Write down a BPM, microalbumin, and oxidized LDL for your next appointment. Your heart has been working every single hour of every single night without pause, without rest, without complaint. For every decade of your life, the least we can do is pay attention. Walk into your next appointment with that list. Ask those 3 questions. That knowledge has real, measurable, life-saving value. I am Dr. Joseph, and I will see you in the next one.